always hugging and kissing, and I was like, what the hell is all this bullshit? So your mother told me, she said, well, you've never seen that, you don't know nothing about it. So consequently, I have this, it's not a bad attitude, I just couldn't let myself go. Now, after working at that school, I've learned a lot. Now I'll hug somebody, and, like I told them there the first day, I said, then the end of the very day, some kid wants me to hug him. I said, shit, I don't hug my own kids. I'll go to some big guy and give him a big hug. But she taught me all that that was something that I lacked. But that's how you're brought up, you don't see it. You weren't, I don't think my mother was the happiest person in the world with her husband weighing 400 pounds and never having a good job. Well, yeah, but then I think, she had a degree. She was an RN. I don't think he wanted her to work. But I would say that today's times are different. You see, there's no more of this macho stuff, I ain't going to give nobody a kiss or I'm not going to do that, Times have changed, which is a good thing. The biggest problem in my life was the two of us drinking. How something serious never happened. And she came from a crowd that did it, and so did I.
All right, here's another question. Of the famous people in your lifetime, spiritual leaders, politicians, artists, athletes, celebrity, who are the three that you think had the greatest impact on the world at large? And how do you think they changed things?
That's a huge question. On the world, not somebody I knew personally, just...
Right, just in the world.
See, I grew up with, in my time, prejudices. Everybody had prejudice. You didn't like blacks, you didn't like this, you didn't like that. So, probably after many, many years, as much as I hated Jesse Jackson, I started to realize what the man was doing. And even though he was a glory-hungry guy, he was out to help everybody. He intervened in the strike with the fire department in Chicago. And most people who didn't like him, including me, was a prejudice thing. You were brought up with this. You didn't, I think he was, even though he's a glory-hungry guy, I think that he's really trying to do something right. People just laugh at him. He gets the job done. Politicians, I think I liked Mayor Daley.
Old man or the second son?
The old man. For three things in the world he respected. His church, his city, and his family. He didn't look for money. He didn't look for, he was a powerhouse. If you made a mistake and you were wrong, you're out.
When you were born, what did your dad do then? Do you remember?
I think he worked in a drugstore. That's also, I think, on my birth certificate.
Was your dad born in Chicago?
I'm pretty sure. As far as I know he was, I'm not...
Do you know how old your mom and dad were when you were born?
Yeah. One was born in 1910 and one was born in 1911. And that was born in 1935. So 25, 26, somewhere around there.
Was your mom working when they met?
Yeah, she was a nurse in RN.
Did she work when, she never worked when you were young, did she?
Never worked.
Not till Grandpa died.
Right.
How did they meet, do you know?
No, I don't know.
And how old was your dad when he died?
49, 1960. I don't know when my mother died. I'm not sure.
She died in 1987.
80, yeah, we were on strike, I know that. All right.
She died when Katie was born.
Oh, she did, all right.
Yeah. The last word she ever said was, whatever it was she used to give the babies, $20 or something. The last word she ever said was, give Dee Dee's baby $20. Or whatever amount of money it was, I don't remember.
Shit, your mother's last word was, make sure you take care of that, tells his name, Bradley.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, she said, you make sure you take care. Yeah, don't worry about it, I got it.
Do you remember anything from grammar school?
Being in plays, I didn't want to be an altar boy, so I quit that. And at that time, everything you did outside, we played a lot of baseball on playgrounds, and everybody had, grammar school I didn't have a job, but I don't remember nothing really exciting happened.
And you always lived on the first floor, right, of Newport?
No, we lived on the third until my father had the last heart attack, and my Uncle Frank rented out, or he, one-third of the building was his. His uncle lived there.
Right.
So after my father's heart attack, I don't know which year that was, then we moved down to the first floor.
Were you an altar boy for any amount of time, or did you
Quit it right off the bat.
Oh, okay.
Damn, quila tipica juve to the mail, and I quit. That was it, whatever that was. I hated to do things people tell you to do, so I hold them. Well, it's funny. I've never had a fear in my life. Never. Except, apparently, somehow or another, I went to a wake. I don't know whose it was. And I used to be so hung up on that. Even coming down Clark Street, where I lived near there, I even hated to pass a funeral home. And when I would go to a wake, which was very rarely, I'd never go up to the body. I just signed the book and get the hell out of there. And then after my father died, and my uncle, then I just started going to a wake like anybody else. But I don't know what it was. Even on Clark Street, the funeral home was here, and behind there was the elevator tracks. I even hated to walk by there at night. I don't know what my fear was of that. I have no idea. And over nothing. So either I went to a wake at a wrong age. I really don't know what it was. But then, after my father died, my mother and my wife had touched the body. It's no different than nothing else. But that was I guess you could say, I don't know what the fear of it all was. In fact, I wouldn't even want to go see movies if they had a wake or something in it. And then I went to see a movie one time. The first scene was Here Lies Robert Benson. It was, I don't know what the hell the show was, but if I could get any way out of anything to do with funerals, I did. So the day I got out of the Army, a friend of mine had died the day before on an overdose. So I had to be a pallbearer. That kept me awake half of the night. And then I was a pallbearer a couple other times, but never went to view the body or nothing. Just, put the gloves on and went to the pallbearer work. Then all of a sudden it just went away like nothing happened. In fact, I was a little mad at Cookie because I asked her if I could be a pallbearer for Herbie. And she kept saying no. I don't know what the reason was, if she had enough or maybe she thought I was too old. I don't know what the hell it was.
Well, didn't they just use his friends?
I think that's what it was anyway, yeah.
Because we're thinking about it, yours. We're thinking about just having all your grandchildren.
Right, well, that's all right.
The girls and the boys.
Who the hell was it, Mickey, that said that your mother should have had all girls?
Yeah. That's one of the things I regret in life is that very thing. Because she's right, we should have had all girls. And we didn't do it. It was such a shock.
Well, sure, it was so fast.
I think we were so shocked that we didn't think clearly.
Well, we only had, a guy calls up at 7 o'clock in the morning, tells you your mother isn't going to make it, and she didn't make it, and then you got to ship the body, you got to find a funeral parlor.
Right.
We didn't have a grave, didn't have nothing.
Right.
Went out and bought a headstone at a Jewish place.
Yeah, remember? That was the only place open.
Right.
Yeah, she would have been mad about it.
That was the only place open.
Another thing to put in there when we get to the part, your mother had a great fear of doctors.
Oh, yeah.
And she blamed everything on the Margaret, how they butchered Margaret up. I don't know what happened. I wasn't that involved. And she thought that women were guinea pigs, in a roundabout way. She might have been right, too. But everything that happened, she based on, look what happened with my mother, I said, Lee, your mother wasn't in the best of shape anyway, and I don't know if they had her Illinois research, I'm not sure. I said, but you can't do that. All they want to do is take biopsies of you and do this and do that. So, and her self-medication, I should have noticed, I wasn't that smart, that when we first moved down there, her heels, her ankles were swelling. And she says, oh, that's because the place is so hot, and what it was, she wasn't getting circulation.
Dad, I pleaded with Mom. I knew exactly what was wrong with her, and I pleaded with her to go to a cardiologist who could help her. But she wouldn't. You couldn't talk to her. She wouldn't do it.
Well, you know what got me? When I went in, I was going to get operated on for colon cancer. So we go up to the receptionist to make the appointment, and she says, well, your mother wanted me to go to Holy Cross. And the girl says, well, you can't get in there for 2 or 3 months. You know, he's all booked up. I says, where can I go and get it done? She says, oh, you can come in next week and get it done at, I forgot the name of the hospital. And so I told your mother. She said, what are you doing that for? I said, what the hell am I doing that for? I said, I'm the guy with the cancer.
Right.
I said, I got a son getting married in a week or 2 or 10 days, whatever it is. I said, I have to go to work to at least put in 1 day, and I got to be in Chicago for the wedding.
Right here,
And she said, well, how the hell you know you're going to do that? I said, because that's what the hell I'm going to do. But to her, she said, wait a couple months. You know, at that time, not that cancer ain't a scary word now, but, you know, it makes you think a little bit.
Well, good thing you didn't wait.
Oh, hell yes. With the carotid arteries was funny. Every doctor, I think, has little habits that they perform for everybody.
Miss Marlene, please dial 430.
And I went to see this
Dial 430.
doctor, can't think of his name, and he stuck the stethoscope here, and he stuck a stethoscope there. He said, you have to go for a, what do you call it? When they scan you,
Ultrasound?
ultrasound or something. So I go for the ultrasound, and I says to the nurse, you know, they know if it's good or bad. I mean, they're not allowed to tell you.
Right.
And I says, well, you know, how'd I do? Hoping she'd say, she says, only the doctor can tell. So I said, shit.
Right, because you know.
I told your mother, I said, well, then I thought, I asked her to do both of them on the same day. I said, you can't do that. Yeah, usually, you know, they can give you a little bit of a hint, you know, and say, shouldn't be too bad. Or,
Do you remember how blocked they were?
pardon?
Do you remember how blocked they were?
Probably 70-80%, I'm guessing. I don't know if I have records on that anymore. That was, that was in 93 or 94, 95. I got the dates on there somewhere at home. And what really made it work, the real estate office I was working for was, she come up to me, the owner, and she said, what are you going to do about that carotid artery? I said, I don't know. She said, well, would you mind if I get you a doctor? Because her husband was a lawyer. I said, no, I don't care. So at that time, I was still covered under COBRA from the Board of Ed. And even though I was out of the area, they took care of that. The second time, I might have been working, and my insurance paid for that down here. But she told me, she said, oh, that's what I went to the doctor. He said, well, how'd you get my name? I said, from the lawyer. My woman I worked for, the lawyer. And so that was all right. And she complained that one side looked better than the other side, and now she is. Now, every time I go to doctor, they put that, you can hear the circulation.
Right. So when you were a kid in grammar school, who'd you hang around with? Do you remember?
Kids on the block. Kids you went to school with. You know,
Anyone we know?
Oswald.
You know, he's sick. Did you talk to him?
I talked to him, poor guy, he got in a car accident and he's got oxygen. So his grandson, Sarah's grandson, they live there. And they each had a little job, you know, doing something to 2 or 3 kids, and not making much money. Well, somehow or another they both lost their jobs up in Wisconsin there. So they all moved in with him. So she's got her grandson and granddaughter and 3 kids. They're working now. But here he's 76, he's walking around with oxygen. But you gotta do what you gotta do. And they raised Sarah's had 2, let's see, her daughter had 2 kids. And her daughter was a little flaky. I guess her daughter's all right today. So one daughter stayed with the father, and then the grandson came to Wisconsin, you know, for the summer, and he ended up living there with them. And they sent him to school and all that. So now he's got the grandkids. He can't do much of anything. But he said, what the hell are you going to do? The house is big enough. It's a nice house. It's on a lot of land. And also, while I was in grammar school, I took a couple trips to Wisconsin to visit Oswald. I went to Arizona in 7th or 8th grade, I'm not sure, to visit friends of the family, to Tucson, Arizona. And while I was there, of course I was young to remember, the couple was going through more of a divorce. He was a pretty big drinker, but he had a nice job. He was a projectionist, so we used to go see all the shows for nothing. Also, on his piece of land, there was a trailer there that his wife's mother lived in. They had a couple kids, so it was really nice. Now, this is in 1948 or 1949. I remember from their house, looking out the window, all you could see like 100 miles away was mountains.
Wow.
That's Tucson. I remember the address. It was 1313 Flower Street. I would like to go by there. Be like a whole new world there.
I'm
Now you
sure.
were in Arizona with John. It wasn't a bad trip. It was pretty good. So I went there a couple times. We used to take a vacation. Now I think it was in somewhere in Wisconsin, White Plains. I don't recall the name. We'd go there for a week. My mother hated all that. She said, "What in the hell do you think I'm going to do there? Well, these guys are out there drinking and fishing, and I'm doing all the cooking." She didn't play no game. And another time, he was going to have some kind of a party for something. She says, "You think I'm going to clean up after this?" She says, "You hire somebody to..." See, social skills she wasn't great at, and he was the master of it. You know, one was outgoing and one wasn't outgoing. And he was loved by everybody because he was a good bullshitter, and he just was loved. But other than that, we just took a few trips. Yeah, that's about it. Christmas parties. My father played Santa Claus all the time.
Oh,
And then I had my cousins living in the building, Noreen and Nancy.
yes, I remember.
And then I stayed there, well, till I went in the Army. And you know, I made a remark to your mother about that. I said, the day I went in the Army, I went in the bedroom, and I said to my mother, you know, I'm going downtown, and there was no such thing as here, give me a big kiss and all. See you later, and that was it. And it had nothing to do with love or nothing. It's just a matter of affection. My father used to write me a letter. He'd put a couple stamps in there. If he put a buck in there, well, then we'd buy a six-pack of beer. And but there were two opposites all the way around: weight, personality. And when your mother had her first miscarriage, and she come home from the hospital, and my mother, as if to say, "How you doing, Loretta?" My father, he's got his big arms around her, and he's crying, and your mother's crying. My mother's looking at her and saying, "What the hell's the matter with them?" And then, since I was the first person to marry a divorced woman with a kid, which was unheard of at that time, I was working one night, and my mother and father both went out with your mother. And they said, she said, "What do you want with my son?" And she said, "His money." And they became the best of friends. Drinking partners. They'd sit there at that goddamn table and drink to half the night.
I remember that. What kind of beer did you drink when you were young?
Pabst Blue Ribbon. And then after, at the ballpark, that's all they sold was Pabst Blue Ribbon. And then I switched over to hams after a while. Your mother drank Old Style. Also, your mother had a formula that if you put ice cubes in your beer, you won't get pregnant. So that didn't work.
Obviously. Now, I was looking online because, I don't know if Mary told you, but Kathy and I went and planned your wake and funeral. Did
No,
Mary tell you? Well, we did. So
Same
anyway.
place?
Yes, same place.
Good.
So anyway, we needed a theme. They do them themed now, you know, for the flowers and all that. So I looked online, and your old high school, St. George, which is closed, but they have a really strong alumni association. And their colors were blue and white. Did you remember
Yeah,
that?
the dragon colors, they were, yeah.
Yeah. So they were blue and white. So, and you really liked the Cubs. So we went with the red, white, and blue theme. And the guy said that'll be perfect because that matches the whole veteran thing, too. Because they'll do the flags and all that. Now, Kathy said at the gravesite, you don't want the honor guards there. Is that true?
I don't know. I went to a service about 6-8 months ago for Ann's friend. Of course, he spent his time in the service. It was really nice. Of course, they had a military burial. And then they give you a urn, you know, to put your ashes in. But everything had to be done fast because then, you know, as soon as they're through with you, in comes another one.
Right.
So the casket wasn't there because all they had was the ashes. And they had a 21-gun salute. You know, somebody said a few words, so that wouldn't bother me. I wouldn't care. I just don't think that having never been in any type of battles or not, you know, that should... I wasn't in love with the Army anyway. So I really don't know that I'd want... I don't know if the American Legion does something. I'd just soon be out all that. I I didn't do nothing to deserve any kind of a special award, so the hell with it. 600 and some days of my life, that was all. Leap year, one extra day.
Oh, no, you play 'em that bad.
Huh? I know. One extra day.
Holy cow. So when you used to go to Wisconsin, Dad, did you go to a resort? Or did you go...
Yeah, it's a cabins, you know. You rent a little cottage somewhere.
And was it all you guys who went? You know, all your brothers and sisters?
Yeah, I don't even remember how many were alive. You know, if we're born yet, I'm not sure.
Would anybody else go, or just you guys? Just
I think that my father, they had friends, you know. It'd be just like when you went to go see Uncle Tim, you know.
Yeah.
They had friends that were there at the same time.
So what was your first car?
1946 or something. Let me think a minute now. A vacuum shift. I think it was a Chevy. It was a vacuum. I bought it in the Army because I never drove. I don't know why. I just never cared about driving. So when I got in the Army, I bought this car, this Chevy. I think it was a Chevy, or maybe this vacuum shift. Didn't know how to drive. With drinking and that, I just didn't feel right driving anyway. So I come home to Chicago on a leave. And I wanted to go for the driver's test, and I failed it. And when I didn't pass the test...
Did you have it on the A side or B side? Did I put that? Let me look, 1 second. Yeah, it's fine.
So when I didn't pass the test, I said, look, I said, I'm in the service. I'm in Baltimore near there. I said, I'm not going to be driving anyway, and I have a car. So the guy gave me a pass. But I never have liked driving. Whether drinking played a part, I just never liked driving.
Is that why your wife used to drive a lot when you were together?
Yeah, she liked driving. I just didn't, even taking trips, you know. I used to go to see Carol and Dick in Springfield. I think, geez, I got to drive home. It's only a couple 100 miles. And then, you know, the one driving to Chicago from Florida was a little different. I never cared about driving. Because I was 21 or 2 at the time I got a license in the Army. I don't know how I never got a ticket for drinking and driving. Part of it's bullshitting your way out of it.
Well, but different in the old days, too.
Well, sure, they gave you a court date. You might have went there 2 months later. You come in with a suit and tie all dressed up. Judge said, well, and if the policeman don't show up, the case is thrown out. They can't do that anymore. And then I think these mad Mothers Against Drunken Driving, they start checking this stuff and find out that all these people were repeats coming in there.
Right.
They cracked down on it quite a bit.
Yeah, they sure did. Sure did. Do you remember what color your first car was?
Black. In fact, a little bit, I got the car to Chicago. My father and I drove back from Fort Meade, and I always liked going to balls. So I took this girl, we went out to a company, and we're drinking there. I don't know how much she had to drink. And later on, my buddy Joe called me up, and he said, what are you going to do about the accident you had? What accident? He said, well, you hit a car or something. I don't know. So Monday morning, I get up to go to work. There was a policeman out there, because I don't think I hit off. I hit a car. I don't know what the hell I did. And you think I went to, whatever it was, that got thrown out. But then I had another one. I had an accident on Lawrence and, I don't know, Pulaski, somewhere near there. And I hit a car during the day. I remember that, so I just went home and forgot about it. So at the school, there was a watchman who worked there. His son was a lieutenant, and I used to drive him to the L station and all that. He always told me, he said, if you ever need anything, ask. So we were just going to be moving to Florida. And I told him about this accident, and he called up his son. His son was a lieutenant. And he said, ask him if he's got insurance. And I said, yes, I had insurance. So he said, you go down to Hubbard Street and ask for Sergeant so-and-so, big black sergeant. And he said to me, do you have insurance? I said, yes. He said, okay, that's it. Now, the lieutenant told me, he says, buy the sergeant lunch. So I give him $20 or $25. He called me back and he said, I just said to buy him lunch. I said, what about you? Click. Well, this guy ended up being second in command in Chicago. Hanhart's his name.
Oh, yeah.
And what happened, he's in trouble now yet, even though he's retired, stuff with jewelry heisting or something like that. But, and then I used to give Eddie, that was the watchman, tickets for the Cub game when I used my ticket. But his son got to be number 2, in the police department there. I was so surprised. But, years ago we went to a class, and they were saying the police are like anybody else. If they're in vice, they get involved with vice. If they're in drugs, they get involved with... That's a tough job. Very tough. So that's how I got out of that one. But they weren't as bad with you, as long as you weren't mouthing off to them. Then the one on, we were coming out of Bill's Tavern on a Halloween night. It was says, you're going the wrong way. Oh, shit. I wasn't drunk. I said, well, can I buy you breakfast or something? He says, yeah. I said, well, I got to go home and get some money. So we go over to the house on Barry. I got no money now, so I got a piggy bank with change in it. I bring him down to piggy bank. I give him the bank. Okay, see you later. 10 minutes later, the doorbell rings. Here, take your bank back. But at that time I hadn't had that much to drink. But the one with your mother was the better one. I get a phone call at, I don't know, midnight, 1 o'clock in the morning. The guy says, we got your wife here. Yeah, so he said, well, she hit a couple cars. I said, oh, shit. I said, okay. So I $50 or something I took with me. So I go there, and she's belligerent. You know how she is. I said, will you shut the hell up, will you, please? I said, here, give the guy his $50 and that. Then another time, we're out at my uncle's tavern. I was working, and she had to go somewhere. So she's going down Ashland Avenue, and she gets stopped for something, speeding or something. It happens to be the first black motorcycle cop in that area. And she's trying to bribe him. That didn't go over too good either. And you were with us tonight with the what the hell did she hit there with the...
That was Christmas Eve.
Whatever the hell that one was.
Yeah.
Well, you see, that's one thing. Between the two of us, we leave him a lot of material anyway.
Yeah.
Got something to talk about. But before we let's just get on the subject with Rosie for a minute.
Sure.
What little I know, I didn't know Aunt Ruth. I didn't know anybody, really. Until somebody said that Aunt Ruth was going to have a baby. I don't know who knew about this, who knew she was pregnant. I don't know. So, Margaret, let me think. They hadn't awarded the baby to anybody yet, I don't think. So it was a Saturday afternoon. We were living on Barry, I'm pretty sure. And George and Peggy come over and they got the baby with them. And they wanted to adopt the kid or something. So some type of an argument came about between them. I kept my mouth shut. So I said to your mother, I said, I'm going down the street and have a beer. I said, whatever decision you and Margaret decide on, I will back that decision. I came back and Margaret had the kid. And next thing you know, they adopt. So then I wanted to get Rosie on my insurance. Well, to do that, you had to adopt. But a couple years later, they changed the rule and you could become a...
Excuse me.
Bernie wouldn't let me adopt because for Social Security reasons, which made sense. So then they said you could be not a foster parent, whatever it was. Guardian. So I talked to Bernie and I said, look, I says, Rosie can go on my insurance just like all the other kids. There's nothing at all, nothing to do with your Social Security. You just, sign whatever the papers were. And that way Rosie was on the insurance all that time. As I say, I don't know nothing about Aunt Ruth or anything before any of that, nothing at all. But I do know that when I came back, Margaret had a baby sitting there. So that's the story as far as I know about Rosie. How George and Peggy got involved, I have no idea. I don't know what the hell they were doing anyway. And then the other time I seen my mother-in-law mad is when Herb let them kids get adopted. Oh, man, was she mad. Jesus Christ, she was ready to kill him. She was livid. All for $10 a week. Not that the guy was the bad guy. They were together a while, but the security of him being a fireman. Oh, was she mad. Jesus. And I'll never forget, I don't know whose house, but Herb was visiting, telling me about this new girlfriend he's got. She's got a great job, and they're never going to have kids, and they're going to travel all around the world. That didn't work either. But I never seen your grandmother so damn mad. Oh, was she mad. Anyways, see, now in your case, I don't remember. I don't ever remember meeting Don, your father. Maybe I did once or twice. I don't remember. But anyway, his was like a case of $10 a week child support or something. And how the hell did that work? Well, then when you got adopted, it didn't matter after that.
I still remember that. I still remember going to court.
Well, I don't remember. I don't.
What do you mean? You don't remember it?
Well, not that much, but all the intricacies, whatever the hell they call intricacies about it. But and your grandmother didn't want to give you up. They wanted to adopt, and Loretta wasn't going to do that.
I remember going to court, and I remember Mom telling me to make sure I said good things about you to the judge, to be sure. But then, when I was talking to the judge, I still remember this. The judge asked me, did your mother tell you to say things? And I said, yes. And then the judge said, okay, I'm going to ask you a question, and I don't want you to say what your mom said. I want you to tell me the truth. So I still remember that to this day.
But it was tough, Margaret, because they were watching you all the time. And because we were both working.
Right.
And And then, they took it all over. But in the end, it had to be done anyway. There's no two ways about it.
How old was I when you adopted me? Do you remember?
Well, I think it was before Kathy was born. I think it had to be before that. I'm pretty sure. I don't think it was too much after your mother after you were born. I'm not sure. But there was no problem with none of it.
I thought that Mom would have saved those records, but after she died and we looked through her stuff, there was nothing.
I don't know. I couldn't tell you where none of that would be.
Yeah, she must not have, because there was nothing we could find.
But, we never got on the subject. It's like, this is before I knew your mother, so there was never no talk about it, no nothing. The subject was never brought up. It's like nothing ever happened. It's just how it was then. It's, as I say, being the first guy to do this was a little different, but it worked out.
I thought we decided she was never really married before.
No, she had a marriage certificate. I know she was married. I think your grandfather made sure of that. There was another case, too, from what little I know. This guy was, 6, 7 years older. I guess was a good-looking guy and all that. And I said, well, what the hell are you doing, with somebody that much older? Whatever the hell. I don't know if he'd been married before that at all. I think he might have even been married before that. That I'm not sure about. And, but I think that she just wanted so bad to get out, you know what I mean, between putting up with your grandfather, who in the end comes out to be a hell of a good guy. But, things happen, what the hell. Meeting her was something. Christ, I was working for the railroad. We sat as close as you and I are right here, my desk, her desk. In comes this beautiful blonde girl with her tight skirt on and her girdle on there, and her high heels and her white hair and her red lipstick. And she sits down next. So finally one day, you figure out this girl's been married. I'll ask her out.
How did you know she'd been married?
I think she probably said something. Good question. Yeah, probably we were talking about it. Probably said I got a little kid at home or something. Live with my parents. So finally, one night, she said, okay, I'll go out with you. Well, I was bowling. I had to go bowling that night. And we went out. We were drinking and all that. Something happened that night was funny. I don't know. Some guy who was driving us got in a car accident, some kind of an accident or some damn thing for drinking on there. So then she told me later years it was my fault she drank because I took her out. I said, for Christ's sake, you've been drinking since you've been 10 years old. But she sat just that close, and the women in the office, especially this one, Miss Martell was her name. She used to tell her, your mother would be shaking her ass back and forth in her high heels, and she told her, Loretta, you shouldn't be walking like that. You shouldn't do this, bother her, and with her white hair, and she was something to see. Then, before we were married, when I worked for the railroad, since I had a little bit of time, if you took 2 days off, you got paid for one. So we took off a day, and we went to the racetrack. And come time to get paid, and I go to collect my money, and this older woman didn't like young people. She's waiting for me. Man, is she laying for me. And I said, Margaret, I got an extra day's pay coming. She says to me, she said, isn't that the day you were at the racetrack with your blonde-headed girlfriend? I thought, oh, shit. So she used to listen on conversations, so that took away my day's pay. I don't think we went to a track 3 times ever after that anyway.
How long did you date Mom before you got married?
I'm going to say September of 57 till September of 58. In that time, we took a trip to Cincinnati to see a friend of mine I was in service with. And then they came to Chicago. At that time, I don't know, I wasn't planning, whatever the hell happened, I wasn't planning marriage. But then, about a year, that was it. See, because all those dates are vivid, because I know, doing it with the service, right, how long I was out of service.
Well, when you got married, wasn't Mom pregnant?
What do you think of it? Truthfully?
Yeah.
No. What happened, when we made plans to get married, whatever happened, she wasn't pregnant. So, this ain't nice to say, but I come home, my father's sitting out on the porch. I said, I'm not going to get married to Helen. I said, she's not having a baby. So he says to me, listen, I got all these invitations sent out, all this stuff. He says, you got to go through it. I said, all right, I did. I got married, and that was it. I didn't have any intention of wanting to get married right away, but we did plan it, and so we got married. So she wasn't pregnant when we got married, no. Well, let's see, I got married in 58. Kathleen wasn't born until 60, so that's 2 years later.
Yeah, but she lost that one baby.
Yeah, but that had nothing to do with it either. But when we got married, your mother wasn't pregnant, no. We thought she was before that. But at that time, I don't know, I just figured that you should do what you should do. In the end, it all worked out anyway. Now, as far as you asking about Unky, Unky was your grandfather's uncle, I think. Sort of a drifter, never worked, got a little bit of a pension from the Army. He'd live with Bernie and Margaret, and they'd get in a big beef, him and Margaret now and then, because he didn't do nothing. He didn't work, he'd drink, and your mother was very close to him, very close to Unky. So then he stayed with us for a while on Newport, and what he would do, he'd get this small check he got, whatever it was. He'd go out, buy his cigarettes and everything for the month. And then he'd take a little bit of money with him each time and go drinking on the railroad tracks, wherever the hell they went. And then when he was out of money, he stayed in the house. Well, he'd get on that goddamn stove and start cooking stuff with lard in there. I was always worried he could start the goddamn house on fire. Then one day, he's living there, and Uncle John. So I come home, my brother wanted to borrow $5. And in the next remark, he says, anybody who works 2 jobs is crazy. It's out. Unky, out. Both gone, just like that. But tell me, I'm crazy working 2 jobs.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. But Unky stayed with us quite a bit. Unky stayed with George for a while, and he stayed with family. Supposedly, he was going to marry some woman. I don't know if he ever did or not. She thought he had money, and he thought she had money. Neither one of them had nothing. But so he lived with us. Uncle John lived with us. You name it, they lived there. But your mother liked him very well. She really liked Unky. And I don't know what the relationship with Aunt Carrie was, if she was a relative or just a good friend. And they were very close. In fact, I think that when they bought this house on Magnolia, I think it was Magnolia, that she may have lent Bernie some money. Bernie could not stand owning anything. Nothing. Nothing at all. Drove him crazy. But she was a nice old lady, very nice. Her and Hank, that was her, I don't know if that was her husband or her boyfriend. And Aunt Loretta, her and Ned, I think was his name, were in Chopin. And I don't know if Tom, that'd be your uncle, lived with him. Tom was sort of a, do you ever remember Tom at all? Sort of a, I don't know, strange guy. I don't know if he took drugs. I don't even know. I think he might have worked. And they sort of raised Tom. And then, somehow or another, Tom got involved in a fire or something happened. He got killed. I don't know whether it was
Yeah, I have that.
an apartment or something like that. But the whole family, you're talking coming out of Manuka and all the places, like being in another world.
Right.
And
What was Grandma and Grandpa's address on Magnolia?
I would say 16 or 1700, right near Fullerton, just south of Fullerton. No, wait. Magnolia runs, just south of Fullerton. It was over by Election Brother Hospital. And finally, Bernie got rid of the house. Then I don't know if they went back to Joliet. I'm not really sure. But he'd go somewhere every weekend, and he always wanted to take her with. She never wanted to go anywhere. So he'd take her there to her sisters, wherever it was, and
Her brother.
yeah, he'd go.
Uncle Ted.
Yeah, he'd go bumming around and all that. And I don't think he liked them that much, and they liked him, so whatever the hell it was. And but she never. But then again, going someplace with him was murder too, because he's the type of guy that you're there 10 minutes and he's ready to go. Even when he took Margie to Florida, right away he gets to Florida and he's ready to come back already. Now that was a godsend. Everybody's, what's Bernie gonna do? What's Bernie gonna do? Next thing you know, Bernie got a girlfriend and lived with her in Joliet. Terrific couple. 2 good-looking people. Loved to go dancing. And your grandfather was one of the few people, I think, to start going to AA. Because I think your mother said he was in the hospital for about a year. And he really got involved in it. And, sponsored people. And I think Bernie quit drinking at about 25 or 6 years old, something like that. Almost killed him. But he was, bum riding the rails and stuff like that. And I don't know what he did for work before that hotel. But man, that guy in that hotel was Mr. Personality. I don't give a damn. He put that uniform on. And when you went to see him at that Palmer House, yes ma'am, no man, mister, At home he was different. But that uniform changed him. He was in love with that job. And in my opinion, I think, because he wasn't drinking, he worked for the hotel, I think that he probably could have went to Vegas somewhere working in a hotel. But no guts.
Right.
He used to talk about his brother, friend Joe Carroll, getting this and that. But Bernie would have been a prime person for there because he didn't drink. And he liked his work, but never did it. He stayed at that hotel all that time. And then I got him a job with the school board as a janitor of all things. He hated the job. For
Dr. Walker's
But he
office.
kept that job for insurance for his wife.
Dr. Walker's office is open.
And one day this old chief come up to him at Steinmetz High. I think Ed Luce was about 80-some years old. So he goes up to your grandfather, who's a janitor. And he says, you know, Bernie, he said, what's an old man like me going to do when I leave here to get another job? Now, the guy's got a big pension coming and all that. He's asking that of your grandfather. Then he told me when I retired. He told Loretta, he says, Loretta, he said, that Benson's a crazy son of a bitch. He says, he's quit the job for $50,000 a year. What's wrong with him? My wife said, I don't know. I guess he's retiring or whatever the hell he's going to do. Yeah, he says, he's a crazy son of a bitch.
Well, my favorite was how Grandpa always used to say, Benson, you're a lucky bastard.
Oh, right, all the time. But you know, you couldn't do nothing for him. You know, one day when they were living with Herb over on Palmer, Herb decided to paint the apartment. Man, he almost had a heart attack. He couldn't stand the smell of paint. But whatever his faults were or weren't, he kept that job for insurance for your mother. I mean, your grandmother. But it's you know, you're talking a different era. People didn't go have, I don't even know if he had a grammar school.